All right, hey guys, we are going to use layer styles, Photoshop, and Illustrator to create this cool stamped concrete looking text effect. You guys are going to create a desktop wallpaper. All right, we are going to set up a new document in both Photoshop and Illustrator to 1366 by 768 pixels. In Photoshop, it's going to be set to 200 points per inch or pixels per inch. All right, so first things first, we talked about high resolution imagery. So I say here you're going to find a nice but smooth, preferably lighter color, textured background, cardboard, rust, concrete, wood, metal, or you can even take your own photo. A lighter photo works best, but the smoother and still interesting the photo, the better, because we're going to make it awesome using Photoshop. So my middle name is Voldemort, so I chose Joseph Voldemort Zimka, and I chose this background image, okay? In Illustrator, I set up my document to 1366 by 768 pixels. I did my imagery, okay? Because the Photoshop document is going to be a different DPI, pixels per inch. We might have to do some resizing, but this will give us the general idea. I chose to do this in Illustrator because I'm able to control the text a bit more and a bit easier to get how I want to do it. Okay? We're going to design our image. The bolder the font, the better. We're going to design our image in Illustrator. Once we're done, we're going to copy that over to Photoshop. Okay, we're going to create a new document. We're going to go 1366 by 768. All right, resolution, we're going to go 200 points per inch. All right, and create our document. Okay, first and foremost, this is our background layer. We can paste our new image in this layer. We're going to keep it as pixels. Remember, we copied our text from Illustrator already, and we're going to paste that into our image. Okay, again, like I said, we have to resize a little bit, all right? And we know how to do that. Make sure, I'm going to place that file good. Make sure our show transform control is on. If it's off, all you got to do is click Command T, and that'll transform it for you. Okay, it'll show you transport window or transform window. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drag our background image into this file. Okay, so I've found I did a Google search for concrete. I found a couple of good ones. Okay, for the sake of, let's do the same one for the sake of, right, this was the good one. You can see that it's 5,000 pixels big. All right, it's gonna be nice and high resolution. I'm gonna click view image. All right, and I can take this now and drag this into our Photoshop file. Let's make sure this is placed first, and then we can drag this into our Photoshop file. All right, this is rather large, so all I'm doing is zooming out. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. It's 5,000 pixels big, nice and high resolution. All right, so I'm going to resize that roughly to the size of my canvas. All right, I make it a little bit bigger. All right, I'm going to zoom in, press enter, and this is going to be my background. I see that this second layer is in front of, it's on top of, so we're going to move this layer down. Okay, this is what we're started with. The next thing we do to get this nice darker edge, we call that a vignette. A vignette is a nice outer edge. It's a darker outer edge to give the appearance of there's some sort of light source going on. For those familiar with Instagram, um, you might see that as one of the filter effects in Instagram. I had to take a drink. I'm thirsty. I'm talking too fast. All right. Well, back into our new file. To create a vignette, we're going to go down here to an adjustment layer. We're going to create a new fill or adjustment layer. We're going to click that and go up to curves. Okay. We're creating that layer above this layer, which is fine. Now I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. As I move this around here, I can make things darker, lighter. All right. We can see there's black, a little bit of blue. All right. All I want to do is make this a little bit darker. Okay. Make it a little bit darker right there. Okay. Close this out here. This is what we call an adjustment layer. So this is a mask. Imagine this mask right here. We're going to put holes in this mask so we can see through it. Okay. So we do that. We're taking away the black of this image. So I'm going to choose black and I'm going to go to my brush. All right. My brush setting is going to be pretty large. Right now we can go, 500 pixels big. Keep the hardness at 0. If I were to make this super hard, all right, the edge would be very crisp. We want the edge to be nice and soft. So we're going to keep the hardness at 0. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to slowly work this around. All right, work this around just to get a nice darker outer edge. All right, if we switch colors, we can add darkness back in. We can add darkness back in if we need to, but I want to keep this, I want to take the darkness out. All right. All I'm going to do is create this little vignette. It looks like there's a light source peering down upon our object, okay? Good. I'll make sure this layer is selected. Next, we're going to go to this top layer, and we're going to use something called layer styles, all right? This is the fill of my layer. I don't change the opacity of my layer. What we're going to do is we're going to take the fill all the way down, okay? So you're not going to be able to see that layer anymore. And then we're going to double-click layer 1 to access the layer styles of this layer, all right? We could go up to layer style, okay? We make sure this is clicked. We can go up to layer style, and then select them from here, but we want to be able to see what we're doing, so we're going to double click this layer, okay? Remember, I can always go back and change my vignette if I want to by just going back to that original layer. First step, to create our stamped effect, we're going to click bevel and emboss, okay? As you can see, I'm going to move this over just a little bit so we can see as we work. As you can see here, this is already looking like it's stamped into the metal. We're not done yet, or not the metal, the concrete. We're not done yet though. We've got to adjust some of the settings here, okay? We got to make sure our style is emboss, okay? We're going to make sure down is selected. If it was up, it would look like it'd be raised up. We're going to go down. We're going to make sure that emboss, that bevel is down, okay? 2 to 5, the size of it, we're going to go 2 to 5 pixels. All right, if I go much more, it kind of looks like it's, how would you describe that? It almost looks like it's been molded underneath, like something's underneath. That might be a cool effect later on, but that's not what we're trying to do right now. All right, I'm going to go to about 7 pixels, make sure that's 7 pixels. And then we're going to leave the rest of the settings alone. So emboss down about 7 pixels, okay? And then next, I need the inside of the image to look a little bit darker because it's stamped in, all right? There's not as much light getting to the inner edge, all right? So I'm going to click color overlay, okay? I'm going to choose like a black. Make sure the black is set to black. All right, that's fine. Click OK. I'm going to choose color burn. All right, make sure the blend mode's in color burn. And then I'm going to take my opacity down to about 10%. It's just a little bit darker. You might not think it's a little bit darker And that's, for me, I'm going to take it about 20%, but based on your image, you might want to choose um, a different opacity setting. All right. You can see that this is just a little bit darker. So if I click color overlay, you can see that this is just a little bit darker. So now it's recessed and it's a little bit darker in the bottom portion of it. All right. Last, we need to create an inner shadow. Okay. This inner shadow is going to come from the top left. Okay. It's going to look like the image is coming from the top left. All right. Again, we're going to go to color burn. I'm going to drop the opacity down to, I don't know, about 25%. We can see that thing, a couple of things change as we go down. I'm going to drop my opacity down to, we'll call it 40%, but mine's different. Yours might be a little bit different too, depending on what you're creating or the image in the background. All right. I want my angle though to be coming from the top left. All right. That's a big thing right here, this angle. And we're going to use global light. Make sure global light is selected because the other, some of the other stuff we did, that global light was selected and it's going to remain the same. It's going to look like the light is coming from a certain direction. All right. Our distance, our distance is going to be about 7 pixels again, 7 or 8 pixels. All right, good. And I'm going to keep my size about between 2 and 10. It all depends on, again, the size of your image. All right, I'm going to keep it about 6. 6 looks nice. So it's starting to tape shape. It looks like it's definitely smashed into the background. Okay, good. So now if you can see all these things that I did, if I unclick any of these, all right, all these combined layer styles, layer effects makes our finished product look like it's a stamped metal. You could do this with shapes. You could do this with other backgrounds. If I want to make my background a little bit darker, I can go back to my curves layer and I can take away the white by using the white and taking the brush, kind of using it as an eraser. And if I start to experiment with how this is going to work, right? I don't want it. That's a little bit too much, but I might bring the vignette back to the top edge. This kind of looks almost like a gravestone. All right. Another thing that you guys might want to add is I can add a new layer. And I can add a little bit of black. Make sure the black is under the curves. Oops, I don't want that. Actually, I lied. All right, and I can just take the opacity of that black layer down. All right. So it's not as vibrant. You see how that drops a little bit of vibrance? All right. We can multiply a couple of different blending effects to get our finished product. I save this. You can save this as a Photoshop document, or I can save this as a JPEG. All right. Save that in, and then you can access this, and will be a perfect graphic design. I'm going to call this background stamp, maybe. All right. And if I save this to my graphic design folder, I can then access my system preference, desktop, and screensaver. All right. If I go to my desktop, I can go to folders. Let's add a new folder. I'm going to add my graphic design folder. All right. Where did I just name it as? All right. I can search up here for my file. Stamped. Did I not save it? Ah, I didn't save it. There we go. Hello. All right. Background stamp. Choose. All right. And for me, I can select this now as my background. Maybe not. One more time. There we go. All right, just a little bit of a background image. All right, I know my background's a little bit messy. All right, I got a lot of files here, but you guys just learned how to create a cool effect to create the background for your project. Mine's a little bit skewed because my size of my screen's a bit different than yours. All right, get to making, make something cool.